After defeating the 450 prophets of Baal and Jezebel seeking Elijah's head, he flees to Mount Horeb, which, by the way, side note, I didn't know this, but Mount Horeb is actually Mount Sinai. So when Elijah goes to this cave, it brings back all the imagery of Moses and Joshua and God coming down in the cloud or leading the people by fire at night. And Elijah gets to Mount Horeb and he asks the Lord to die. And God comes to him and sends the angel of the Lord and asks him to eat and then to rest because the Lord is about to work in a way that Elijah doesn't expect. In fact, dying is going to be the last thing that will happen to Elijah. But as Elijah is in this sadness and this depression, as the Lord is taking care of him and providing for him as Jehovah Jireh, we find ourselves in 1 Kings 19, verse 9. And he came thither unto a cave, and lodged there. And behold, the word of the Lord came to him. And he said unto him, What doest thou here, Elijah? And he said, I have been very jealous for the Lord God of hosts, for the children of Israel have forsaken thy covenant, thrown down thy altars, and slain thy prophets with the sword. And I, even I only, am left, and they seek my life to take it away. So here, God comes and asks Elijah a question that I think he asks us a lot. What are you doing? Exactly. And Elijah says to him, I'm last. I'm alone. I'm sad. I don't know what to do. And then God responds with this. And he said, Go forth and stand upon the mount before the Lord. And behold, the Lord passed by, and a great strong wind rent the mountains, and brake it in pieces, the rocks before the Lord. But the Lord was not in the wind, and after the wind an earthquake, but the Lord was not in the earthquake, and after the earthquake a fire, but the Lord was not in the fire, and after the fire a still small voice. So often in our lives, right, we see God work in these ways that we've seen before. And when God calls down fire in our lives, when there's an earthquake that shakes things up, right, when the wind breaks us apart, those times it becomes easy to be like, that's God moving in my life. But at this point in Elijah's journey, after he's been through the places of like Zaphoprath and Cherith, right, and he's been to Mount Carmel, and he's dealt with the widow, right, to depend on people that he didn't expect, to take in the ravens, to know that God's beyond the law, Elijah's intimacy with God is deeper than that. And so God wanted to remind Elijah, I'm in the big moves. I'm in those big moments. But I'm also in those quiet moments when we're alone together, when you're sad. And the question that God asks us is, do you hear me when I whisper? And I guess that's a good question. And for Elijah, what happens next is this. And it was so, when Elijah heard it, that he wrapped his face in his mantle, and went out and stood in the entering in of the cave. And behold, there came a voice unto him, saying, What doest thou here, Elijah? Because God will always come back to us and ask us the question again. What are you doing? What's going on? And he said, I have been very jealous for the Lord God of hosts, because the children of Israel have forsaken thy covenant, thrown down thine altars, and slain thy prophets with the sword. And I, even I, am the only one left, and they seek my life to take it away. So Elijah comes when God whispers, wraps himself in his mantle, saying, I am yours, Lord. I truly have done your work, and here I sit, and now they want to take my life. And he gives it to God, to no one else. He doesn't take control of it. He certainly doesn't try and use his influence to handle it. Instead, he gives it to God, trusting that the Lord will provide for him no matter what happens, whatever the circumstance is. And the Lord responds with, And the Lord said unto him, Go, return on thy way into the wilderness of Damascus, and when thou comest, anoint Hazael to be king over Syria, and Jehu the son of Nishni shalt thou anoint to be king over Israel, and Elisha the son of Shaphat of Abinah shalt thou anoint to be prophet in thy room. And so he sets up this circumstance of events that is going to say, hey, Elijah, your ministry is going to change. It won't be you finishing out these circumstances, but I am going to give you the steps. I'm there for you every step of the way. And how does Elijah get there? By spending time isolated with the Lord, by knowing that the Lord himself and his love comes over the law, and by being willing to step forth in front of others and say, I belong to Yahweh, the God in heaven. And Elijah will do the opposite of die. He will walk with the Lord and be with him soon. This concludes our study of Elijah. Happy Sunday, chatting at Cheesman. Happy Sunday.